squat, kiddo.
Lobsters are not dragons. That is wild. We're not lobsters. That is very wild. We're not lizards. We are our own race. That escalated very fast. Hey, drop it. Kellogg's the crabs, eh? What do we think, chat? +4? Mine is 2. He's French. What? Cancel this bird right now. I'm terrified now. This is over lobster. I'm still trying to understand this. That's incredible.
I'm sorry. We're gonna start the lobster war.
How dare you catfish me? You said dragon war.
Club a squat, kiddo.
Lobsters are not dragons. Let's make this clear. We are not crabs. We are not dragon. I mean, we're not crabs. We're not lobsters. We're not lizards. We are our own race. I'm gonna have one of these.
Dragon.
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 Dragon. I'm gonna eat one of these Halloween candies I stole.
Daddy's got a story to tell. Is it long? Sit down. For today's
Is
tale,
it
we'll need to
long?
dial the clock back to the time when optimism died. The 20th century. It's a story of
Yeah,
self-experiments
optimism died.
festering beyond reason.
That is wild. I love it though.
A chronicle of quarrels lasting through all seasons, a fable of ideologic conflict growing tenser than treason, all of which culminated into what was called a war, despite no shots being fired. Dad, I already know about the Cold War, yada yada, better dead than red, I know the drill. What? That pathetic decades-long temper tantrum over whose money system was good and whose was the unholy abomination spawned from the bowels of the ninth circle of hell? No. If I want to watch children cry about how numbered paper was handled while throwing around tubes, I go play Monopoly. I like my near-military
Indeed.
conflicts like I like my woman. Full of crabs.
That is wild. That is very wild. He likes them crabs, eh?
I'm sorry, we're gonna start the lobster war.
I'm still mad at you, Walk-On. How dare you catfish me? You said dragon war.
It's the mid-1900s, and Europeans haven't quite grown out of their main
I have
character
coffee,
phase
by the
and
way.
need to make sure no one forgets. Oh, it's funny because the two movies are so different. Right. I'm here too. Okay. Hey, drop it, drop the oil. But as the 1960s rolled around, tragedy
Hey, drop it.
struck. America had a jello mold phase. But other than that, nearly all of France's African colonies claimed they wanted independence. And
That's
as
a bad
France loved
joke.
being seen as the in vogue colonial power, they granted it to them to look hip, and definitely not because they couldn't afford another colonial war. This was all fine and dandy, unless you were a French fisherman who just lost their free reign to catch lobster off the Mauritanian coast. Slow your roll, Ratatouille, you need a permit for that now. Ah yes, there is plenty of lobster, don't be so shellfish. Leave the area and cut the puns or I'll detain you faster than a panzer tank. Don't get all crabby. I'll be out of your hair in a pinch. Stop! I'm claustrophobic. Ow. But luckily, a few of these fishermen heard some juicy
Based fisherman. What do we think, chat? +4? +4? +4? Does it get +4? I think it gets +4.
gossip about this hot new spot just brimming with lobster on the other side of the Atlantic. And for the cherry on top, they were practically
For my Chinese watchers, +3.
free for the taking. Being
Mine
surrounded
is
by
2. He's French. Wow. Someone asked the 8-ball, and they said, outlook not so good.
nothing but the open water, salty
I guess it's -2 for the Frenchness.
air, Brazil. The fisherman figured
I'm sorry, French viewers. Maybe come by and watch sometimes and defend yourself. I don't know.
figured that last part could be a problem. You know, sovereign waters or something. So they sent out a delegation to negotiate a license. But waltzing up to a country and saying, holy cannoli, that's a lot of lobster ravioli. How about instead of you guys fishing them to fuel your $20 million canning industry, I do the fishing and money getting part, would most likely be met with, haha, eat shit. Therefore, an elaborate ruse was needed to mask their fishing intentions. So they put together a pitch that was so intricate, so convincing, that the Brazilians would have no choice but to allow them coastal access to their lobster, all while being completely oblivious of their objective to harvest them. Thank you for meeting with us. We come to you with a pressing issue. You see, there have been seismic reports, sounds, if you will, of a disturbance in the deep, originating from your coast of Brazil. Jean, if you could just describe this disturbance for us. Of course. And you see, it was those clicks, thank you, Jean, it was those clicks that led us to lobster. Now for our next step. Okay, sorry, I think I know what this is. You boys are just here to conduct some routine research on lobster nurseries and just need one of those permits for a few boats, right? You know, that is exactly what we wanted to do. Pierre, we got the research license. The French fishermen acquired a license
Pierre? How much? How much for you to make an appearance? That's all I'm asking.
allowing 3 boats to conduct research on lobster nurseries, which should normally be a relatively non-invasive process. But they looked at this permit and thought, haha, that's a funny way to spell 4. And everyone knows research is only as good as your sample size, and the French like to be as accurate as possible. Sure, this was all technically in violation of their license, but I've been driving with a suspended one for 3 years now and haven't had any problems. Nevertheless,
did you know you can no longer get charged for that? There's a law now that, I don't know if it's in place now, but like in a few states, it's already being implemented where police can no longer stop you, detain you, or charge you for having an expired or no license. Because technically, and literally speaking, on the Constitution, there is a right to freedom of travel, and technically that's impeding that by charging you with insurance and stuff and making you pay for insurance and stuff.
Western European nations have this refined analytical process to find out just how much they can bend the rules when it comes to a foreign country. So they ran the numbers on Brazil. Brazil.
Honestly, can the US get any more fucked up than it already is?
I don't think you should have asked that. I feel like every time someone asks that, US has to one-up themselves. So I feel like you asking that is bad. No, we're gonna pretend that wasn't asked, right, guys? We're gonna, like, if the US asks, it wasn't asked. No one said that. We promise. We weren't challenging you to one-up yourself.
We're good. While the fishermen thought they'd pulled off a successful bamboozle, Brazilian authorities already thought something smelled fishy about these fishermen. And luckily for them, they also had a similar analytical process. France. Maybe we should check it out. Representatives were sent from the Brazilian Navy to act as inspectors and make sure the French fishermen were honoring the foundation of these nations' crustacean relations. They should be around here. Oh, that's them. Oh, welcome to the Red Lobster. We have an infest. Table for 2, yes? I've got the perfect romantic spot for you two Romeos. What? No, we aren't. Doesn't matter. We're here representing the Brazilian Navy. Oh.
They Falcon!
Oh, yes, I've got the perfect romantic spot for you two Romeos. What? No, we aren't.
They Falcon! Oh, they Falcon.
Doesn't matter. We're here representing the Brazilian Navy. Oh, shit, Brazil? Yes. Welcome to the Red Lobster Research Center. Yes. Let me just get our head aside. Pierre has been making some incredible progress. Oh, yeah? What have you found out in your research? Say, huh? Oh, what? You get pinched, Lil? No, you'll never amount to anything. Upon investigation, they found that, along with violating the boat limit, the ships were not conducting research, but in fact, carrying out large-scale predatory lobster fishing with a trawl. Trawling is this neat practice where you put a net in the water and catch the everything. Environmental impact? What environment? So Brazil was like, stop, and revoked the fisherman's license, sending them lobster tail between the anchors back on over to the land of macaroons in April of 1961. And with that, things returned to normal. Excuse me, there have been seismic reports, sounds, if you will. The fishermen returned in November to request another research license, but this time further out at sea on the continental shelf, outside of Brazil's territorial waters, which stretch 760,320 gumballs from the shore. Or for simpletons, 12 miles. This request was granted, and for the rest of the year, Brazil kept a close eye on them while the fishermen played the nautical version of, I'm not touching you. But just like an early 2000s cartoon fish, the French just couldn't keep their grubby little paws off those luscious lobsters. And on January 2nd, 1960,
I don't understand the love for lobster, I'm gonna be honest. I've had it before, it's doesn't taste like crab. I like crab. Crabs are absolutely amazing.
The French boat
They're
Cassiope
incredible.
was found catching lobster about 10 miles off the shore. 10 miles! Got you! Haha! You're within our waters now, cheese boy! You sure? Hold this! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What you mean?
A Brazilian corvette seized the French vessel for catching lobster without authorization, probably hitting a sick drift as it pulled up, but then again, everything I know about Brazil comes from Fast 5. Anyway, by now shit's getting pretty serious and mom and dad...
All I'm gonna say, Red Lobster's cheese biscuits, the bomb. Their seafood, the bomb. Their lobster, all I'm saying.
need to get involved. So whilst the fishermen and navy battled the
Walk on. I had the fanciest kind of lobster you're supposed to be able to get. I was on one of these really fancy cruises. Because when I was little, my parents took me on cruises sometimes. And this one just happened to have like a fancy dining experience or whatever. Where they gave everyone like fresh lobster. Couldn't stomach it. To be fair, I was kind of sick at the time. So like maybe, but I don't have the money to spend on just a random lobster dish that I'm probably not gonna like. Like if y'all want me to try lobster again, pay for the lobster dish or something. I don't know. But otherwise, lobster play.
Lobster Sea, the French and Brazilian governments battled the diplomacy. The War of the Pen commenced, and at the heart of this battle in the fierce political trenches was one vital question. Like, what is a lobster? Sounds like a silly question, right? What is a lobster? Why, it's the underwater excavator, the crustacean of the basin, the pogo stick with a prick. But even my definition of a lobster...
Did he just call a shrimp a pogo stick with a... Cancel this bird right now.
As nature's gripper snippers wouldn't have been sufficient for the contending nations. They wanted to know whether or not a lobster was a fish. France made the claim that a lobster was in fact a fish, so therefore they had the right to catch
No, they're crustacean. Sorry.
them according to the basis for fishing on the high seas set by the Geneva Convention of 1958. Brazil, for their part, pushed the thesis that lobsters were not a fish, but in fact an economic resource, a part of their continental shelf that they had the sovereign right to exploit, according to a different provision of the same Geneva Convention. They said, citing a treaty they didn't sign. And this wasn't like your average...
Wow. Let's use this treaty we didn't sign.
Your clones with lobster DNA.
Shut up. High five. Consume the water. I'm gonna be honest with you. Furry, we might be playing Path the later part of this week, but I do plan on playing Battlefield with you. It'll probably be next week. Go.
12-hour Twitter beef.
But I wanted to preface that I really. You work all week? Okay, what is the next day you're off we will play?
Battle less.
That work? Okay. There we go.
Did all through 1962 and part of 63.
You have to carry me very
which is
hard, Furry.
hilarious considering
I
the
can't
other
look
things
bad.
going on in the world stage during that time. Kennedy is having us increase our troop presence in Vietnam. 400 Green Berets were a start, but they aren't going to be enough. Agreed. We must be careful, though. We don't want to replace the French as a colonial force in the area and bleed as the French did. That's a good point.
Dr. Pepper.
Any advice, France? So now with the pangolin being a geode, yes, according to our established law of modus operandi derived from the Fly-Eater Sarlacc pit model, yes. Then, when taking the Laplace transform of this in a matrix with the crustacean equation, we find that lobster are in fact fish. No! This completely violates the Capricorn theorem. Let's back this up. While that reality sadly only exists in my head canon,
I'm sorry, but the only category where fish and lobster, the only category that fish and lobster share is seafood. You can't call them both fish. We might try to play Sunday, Furry. I'm thinking I'm gonna try to play Sunday.
and France and Brazil did do their best to support their claims and own each other with facts and logic. Brazil's evidence was that lobsters were like oysters and that they both cling to the ocean floor, making them a part of the continental
Have fun!
shelf.
But we won't.
France
I think we
argued
play
that
Sunday
when
too,
a lobster
Frank.
hops around the ocean floor, it's essentially swimming, making it a fish, which prompted Brazil's Navy expert in oceanography,
I don't think I have anything planned that day.
him, to spit some iconic bars. If a lobster is a fish because it moves by jumping, then a kangaroo is a bird. Yeah, that's actually a pretty solid point. Yeah, and if a kangaroo is a bird, then a flying fish is a spaceship because it jumps through the air. A little weaker, but okay. And if a flying fish is a spaceship, then a seagull is an oil rig because it dives underwater. Okay, let's settle down. No, if a seagull is an oil rig, then my wife is a fucking whore because
That escalated very fast. I was just gonna pause and say that's a cool oil rig, but I'm terrified now. What? What?
it's just from man to man. Okay, so I made up the end there, but don't worry. The first part is a real quote that you can safely add to your Instagram bio.
All right, my personal history is that last part happened. I'm just gonna say it.
While mom and dad fight in their room, let's check on how things are going on the water, and wow, France just doesn't care. Like the IRS at my front door, the fishermen just kept coming back, completely unfazed by the international turmoil and monolithic tubes of death pointed at their face. So the Brazilian Navy just continued seizing their ships, going, "Stop it," while making them sign a paper swearing they wouldn't return. But the French were like, haha, I can't read this, and would often just come back anyway. In one instance, a French ship was caught by a patrol off the northeastern coast who ordered them to sail to deeper waters. At first, the fisherman captain ignored them, but while he may not have spoken Portuguese, there are only a few ways you can interpret a blaring alarm stating "Postos de combate."
Postos de combate.
Postpone the confetti? Ah, but you promised! Sources differ in the exact
You're wrong, man. He's gonna see the air. You can't. It must go on.
timing, but it was around now when the French fishermen were getting pretty fed up with being told what to do, so they started to complain. And by complain, I mean they personally petitioned warships for protection from French President Charles de Gaulle himself. De Gaulle said lobster and granted the request, sending
Lobster. I love that there was literally going to be a war over lobster. Humans will literally go to war for anything, you guys.
gunboats along with 5 more fishing vessels to the Brazilian coast. The French sailed over.
I think that movie where the guy like gets powers of God or something and he says, "Let there be peace everywhere." And then like one of the first things on the news is Alaska is going to war with Canada for literally no reason. It's true. You have a toothpick. No, you have a toothpick. Fuck you. No, fuck you. To war!
With a lot more confidence this time. I mean, they've got defenses now. When has that ever failed France? But unfortunately,
well, if you're wondering why they didn't get sunk, technically are not hurting anybody. So they didn't want to escalate things to a war. They were trying to keep things peaceful and be like, hey, stop it. Go back. Because usually that works. But the French were being, well, I guess in this case, the French were being the French. Maybe? Unsure. Needs more research. But they just weren't taking no for an answer, and were just keep coming back anyways. It was, and we see where the French are now, where they're bringing combat ships to scare the others. This is over lobster. I'm still trying to understand this.
Actually, for them, Brazil is about as likely to let them swipe their salty sea spiders as Hollywood is to pay their writers. So
trawling, if they were still trawling, yes. You're right. They were hurting the local sea market and the local sea, what's it called? Life, like, they basically, they were destroying, like, habitats and stuff. Technically not, Alan. I could explain that better than what you're generalizing. Because there was way more things that they went over war for. So, yeah, they were... Not only were they hurting the local businesses that used seafood. Well, not even the local. Because I'm sure... Because they were fishing all along that coast. So that was hurting multiple cities and towns and probably half the country. So, yeah. And I think that's why they were in that legal battle. But they were trying not to escalate it to arms, is what I'm saying. Brazil was trying to be amicable. Be like, hey, please stop, go away. Multiple times. That's why they were in the legal battles. But the French were doing the thing that a lot of criminals do, where you can't get me for something I'm doing during the trial. Because the trial is ongoing. You're not, like, the people that are, like, part of that, they can't address that. Because the way trials work is you can only address what's happened that you're addressing. If they get in trouble for that, and, like, it rules in the person's favor, then yes, they'll get in trouble for all the stuff afterwards. But otherwise, they're free to do that. It's a scummy move, but it technically works because, like, 50% chance I get away with all of this further stuff. Whereas if they wait, they're missing out on all that. Is what they're probably, like, thinking.
The Brazilian Navy boarded these fishing boats without a second thought. Whoa, shit. I didn't think they'd seize them with us right here. Well, should we do something? No, you crazy? Haven't you?
Yeah, you can't catch any more fish after a certain amount of years. And, you can only catch certain size lobsters, and you gotta let go of breeding lobsters. Breeding lobsters are important to keep that ecosystem going. And the only reason it's really an issue is because of trawling. That's why trawling's not allowed. Because it destroys habitats and stuff. Which are like, it's like tearing down a house and then expecting the people that live in it to build it back themselves. It's not really gonna happen. Or if it does, it takes forever. Yeah, they use large cages now. Because lobsters tend to kind of stack up each other and stuff.
You've seen Fast Five? Much like a pilot to a millionaire's island, the French Navy sat there and did nothing. But the same couldn't be said on the diplomatic front, as it was then that the French ambassador to Brazil visited President João Goulart about the issue. Goulart stated he didn't want any trouble with France, and made the surprise presidential order to release 3 captured fishing boats and allow them to fish. Honey, they reopened that Red Lobster. Terry, we are a loyal Long John Silver's family. As expected, the Brazilian people were none too pleased about this, and the resulting backlash pushed the government to rescind this permission shortly thereafter. Things then escalated even further when in late February...
See, they were trying to not go to war. Because I kind of see it from the Brazilians' point of view of, it's a lobster. Can we, like, calm down about this?
In 1963,
Can you please stop, like, ruining our, like, our people's, like, lives and stuff, and our waters.
An ultimatum. All Frenchies have 48 hours to skedaddle to the land of poodles, else they'd get the noodle. I may or may not have written that line while intoxicated, but I wouldn't dare delete a line full of such eccentric flavor. However,
chef's kiss. Mwah.
Over in France, this lobster war was really starting to get on de Gaulle's nerves. First they can't fish, then they can. Just kidding, they can't. Oops, now they've got 2 days to leave town. God, I don't understand this emotion I'm feeling. What you are experiencing is known as mixed signals, sir. No, I'm sure I tuned this radio to AM. No, I mean, like, you know when a girl is kind of hinting she likes you, but you can't quite tell if she's into you because her actions give conflicting signs? Those are mixed signals. Paul, I'm rich and the president of France. I don't get mixed signals. I get bitches. I don't...
He gets bitches, guys.
Speak to me about your poor people problems.
Poor people problems!
Now, on one hand, Brazil is an important strategic partner of
Let's
the
go!
French. The latter has invested over 1,000 million francs into the former, and they rely on the iron smelting, textiles, and chemical products of Brazil. Psst, 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 psst. Also, Brazil is capitalist and can help fight nearby growth of communism. So, some would say, it would be in the best interest of France to be like, wow, you know, maybe we shouldn't go to war over the ocean bugs that piss out their face. But on the other hand, this wasn't the people's...
Yeah, by the way, if you didn't know, they do that.
France. This was de Gaulle's France. And seeing as how this was the man who tried escaping World War I prison camps 5 times, once while posing as a nurse, it should be no surprise to hear that de Gaulle was a very stubborn man. And this stubborn man considered Brazil's actions to be a slight on the majesty of France. So he did not back down, but instead dispatched the French destroyer Tartu to the Brazilian coast. Tempers are flaring, ministers are swearing. With this newest escalation, Brazil is preparing. The new...
He's a poet and he didn't know it. Oh, I was too!
Newspapers have been rousing the public, and the atmosphere in Brazil is one of imminent war. The Tartu by itself wasn't a huge concern. What made things scarier was where it came from. A whole task force of French ships nearly...
It's not my birthday, shut up. Looking at the ships and the incredible lobster war.
3 days away, containing not only a state-of-the-art aircraft carrier, but also a tanker named Lebes.
Although they did have a lot of lobbyisters in the court, probably.
Which means the fuck in French. Which is...
That's wild. I didn't hiccup, shut up. They call the ship the fuck! Wait, does that mean they would say, don't make us send the fuck at you? And the fuck will fuck you up? I like this. So many wonderful questions to be had.
Also a river in France, which also flows through the town of Condom. Mobilize the Navy.
No, we're not going to talk about it.
Understood, sir. Wait. And...
I don't need the protection from that river.
The Air Force. But there's one small problem with this mobilization. It's the eve of Brazil's favorite holiday, the Carnival. A time for wild celebration, dancing to music, stealing comically large vaults with Dodge Chargers. Oh wait, that's Fast 5 again. And this year, people were really memeing this whole situation. Even some masked revelers went around with lobster costumes. So much of Brazil's personnel were on short leave, but with some effort, they mobilized enough men, granted them war pay, and launched ships to search for the Tartu under Operation Lobster. Along with these ships, Brazil continued to mobilize to meet the French at sea, because sure, their arsenal was full of vintage World War II vessels, and sure, they only had enough ammunition for 30 minutes of combat, and sure, they lacked adequate fuel supplies, and sure, some ships were decommissioned with mechanical problems, and sure, the French had a state-of-the-art navy and air force to counter them, but at least they had their spirit.
They had their gumption. They had... Nope, can't think of a crab pun. I'm just gonna say cojones. Maybe crabs. They had the cojones and crabs.
And family. Brazil's planes that had been searching for the Tartu finally spot it, causing it to start shooting exercises, probably to deter the aircraft. The plane responded by flying even lower to show they aren't messing around. Oh wow, that's cute. Neat little guns you got there. Uh-oh, what's this? These looks like rockets. Wow, these sure are big, huh? Brazil ships made their way towards the Tartu's location late at night. Dawn approached and the sea was veiled with a fog. In the distance, their radar detects something in
Five brownie points if you could figure out what song I was referencing.
Making their way closer, tensions running high. They finally made out the Tartu in the mist and oh, it's gone. Running low on fuel, the Tartu retreated and was replaced with a much weaker ship. Oh hey, what about us? You'll be fine, another ship is coming. Hey guys, what's up? Oh, with the playing field set and more Brazilians on the way, it was now just a matter of who would shoot first. Hey, maybe we should go back and fish where we belong. Africa. The French ships decided to head back across the Atlantic. After this, an agreement was signed where Brazil would allow limited French ships to fish for 5 years while sharing profits with Brazil, who would also get to expand the nautical miles of its territory. You know, just a few. 100. While in the end, France decided war wasn't worth it. To be honest, I'm surprised it got even remotely this far. Running some numbers, if one anti-aircraft gun on one French vessel fired for just 11 minutes, say in case it wanted to teach some smartass aircraft a lesson, you'd already rack up an ammunition bill more expensive than the $3 million a year the French fishermen were raking in. But to be honest, with the cost and street cred for a European nation losing a diplomatic war with Brazil over lobster, perhaps World War III would have just been worth it. The Lobster War, 8 out of 10 stars.
That's incredible. Goodbye! Dragon.